Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Quali. It's the Non-Stop Playing Podcast. And best believe I'm back with another serious topic. So it's been a couple weeks. Just to kind of give y'all a little disclaimer. Your boy's expecting. So me and the missus, we almost at the end of the road. So I've been, doing my fatherly, daddy duties, husband duties. So I'm sorry if I've been neglecting y'all. So I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, so as I always do when I start the episode, check out the last episode if you didn't. I had my girl Tatiana on. She was talking about healing and moving forward. So if that's something that you've been dealing with, it's a great episode. So you might want to check that out. But let me get into this quick because I got a special guest today. Man, me and this brother been knowing each other for a long time. We
Yeah,
don't been on
listen, yeah,
well over a decade. I've been knowing this man, and a very creative brother. Very sound minded, very just all over the place, multifaceted. So I appreciate him more than he knows. He probably knows, but it's more than he knows, in my opinion.
appreciate, appreciate that.
But we don't so as far as how I know my guest today, so he goes by NBB, and I'm gonna let him get into that a little later as far as explaining what that means. But I've known him from undergrad. We don't been on Freedom Rise together. We don't went to Africa together. We don't been a part of
Amazing.
the Kings of Nia, and an onslaught of things that we've done together in the time that I've known this man. But without further ado, I got my boy NBB on a episode today, and we're going to be talking about sexual sexual sexual
Awareness.
awareness. Okay, sexual 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 awareness, something that we need to talk about in our community. So without further ado, I got my boy MBB. Let's tell him who you are, where you're from, how you came up with your name, the acronym, what it stands for, and let's get into the topic.
All right. um, well, my real name is Dwayne Rancher. Um, I go by NBB, that's Native Born Black Artist. And it's a way to inform people that are interested in my work about a term that I don't think a lot of Native Born Black Americans use today. But I know the government, the US government, definitely uses that term to differentiate between Black Americans and international Blacks. And so I just wanted to educate my community. And I was like, the best way to do it is to, just go by Native Born Black Artist. So NBB Artist. If you see that anywhere, that's me. Just a little bit more about myself. Let's see, I have my master's fine arts. I'm currently an instructor, which is something I love. You know what I'm saying? I would never get that out. And I'm overly curious. So you may be asking yourself, what's up with this topic? This is a crazy topic. What's going on there? I've just been curious about just being aware of myself, things going on around me. And then I was like, you just haven't looked deep enough to ask yourself questions about, sexual arousal, and you need to increase your sexual awareness. And we'll get into that a little bit later, but it definitely piqued my interest.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's funny because I had to get you on the podcast because we have our discussion, our dialogue all the time, man. We talk about everything from the moon to the stars to the quasars to everything. And, sometimes we may not talk for a month or two, three, depending on the circumstances. But when we talk, it's dialogue. We talking two, three,
Yes,
sometimes 4 hours, just getting into the thick of everything because again, we're both avid learners, we're nerds, and we just like to be curious.
very
And
much
it,
so.
that's something we need to, expand upon in our community because a lot of us are intellectual, but we're misunderstood. So we got to be able to, just get over that ceiling, that threshold, and just tap into us, the God's in us. A lot of people be like, "Oh, you can't say God." You can say the God is in you because if you're created in that image and you believe that,
Come
you
on.
understand that who you are. So, but again,
Okay.
the episode is about my boy talking to his ish about what he knows, and he's trying to get some exposure to the community. So Go ahead, bro. NBB, tell them more about the sexual awareness. What we talking about today?
I mean, first off, in the Native and Black American community, there really isn't a lot of talk about sex, um, arousal triggers, what happens to your body. And a lot of people talk about the birds and the bees, but unfortunately, in our community, we learn by doing. And in a lot of cases, it leads to, you see that a lot.
Yes,
You
sir.
see these sort of like hangups, parents' inability to talk to their children before they put them in a space where all of this sexual energy is there, and there isn't any supervision, and so you see it play out. And everybody, well, as far as I know, I do, and the people that I know try to do their best to inform people, hey, this is something you had to pay attention to. This is not something that you just pick up like, haha, it's something you had to pay attention to, because there are some very real consequences to acting without intention when it comes to sex and sexual activities. And some people I know sent to prison for it. And I gave all the warnings I possibly could, but it's really downplayed in our community, and probably in many others. But I'm speaking about the community I come from, and we need to get to that. And so
Yes, sir.
after seeing that for years, I started to ask myself questions like, how could I help this current situation? And it all starts with looking inward. I'm telling you. And this is a little embarrassing, but I started to ask myself these questions in my late 20s and early 30s. That's embarrassing. You know
Why
what
is
I'm
that?
saying? It's embarrassing because, I've participated in sexual activity. I like to consider myself someone, we're going to move past that. But you know what I'm saying? The whole time I've been acting sort of like on an autopilot without questioning my actions, questioning my body. What is my body feeling at this time? And I was lucky enough to, have a friend, what I mean? This is an incredible friend. And she wanted to start having dialogue on the misconceptions about sex, and what I may be, what I may be doing wrong, or how I see or assess the situation. And it was great because I can also give her that same advice. And and it really started out with sexual expectations, you know what I mean? Sexual authority, how we play off, sub dom dynamics when it comes to, participating in sexual activity. And, what we discovered is that we don't know anything. I'm gonna keep PG. We don't know anything about sex, for ourselves and for our partners. So luckily enough, both of us, we were in relationships at the time, which was amazing because we got to ask ourselves questions, and then we got to ask our partners questions, and we could just see how that matched. So it was fantastic. And I'm gonna let you know what we learned out here.
All right, all right.
When I say that we got the information incorrect, here's a few examples. One big one was when we referred to people dressing up sexy. You know what I'm saying? Men and women are doing that today with the hoochie daddy shorts. You know what I'm saying? Something I never really got into,
All
but
right.
I mean, it is here. It's prevalent. And and just females dressing sexy with the sundress. It's an incredible thing. I'm not hating on anybody. But just knowing what that does and how it may affect others. And people say, oh, well, you should only be concerned with yourself. Everybody should be concerned, and that's great if we lived in a utopia, but we do
Facts.
not.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's best that how you may be affecting someone beside you, et cetera, et cetera. And when it comes to the hoochie daddy shorts and the sundresses, she would refer to it as, oh, this is just, a little light tease. You know what I mean? Just a light tease wearing this, you know what I'm saying? Keep the boys looking or whatnot. And I explained to her, I was like, it doesn't look like a tease, it looks like a taunt.
Mm.
I said, it looks like you're saying, come get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If we were being honest with one another about how we actually felt. And this is like a few years in. And so we were having honest conversations about how we feel about these things. And I went back and forth with her. And she was like, it's a tease. I was like, no, it's a taunt. It's a taunt. And there's a difference. And then she got to go back and ask her partner, when you see the girl in the tight shorts, in the bikini like that, what do you see? He said he sees red, like a bull, and it's calling to him to go to her. And I was like, yes, a taunt. Like, you see the difference. So it's really important. It's really important that we understand these things. And we got into a conversation because I want to, let's continue on to, the arousal triggers and taunts, and then we'll jump right into the sexual rituals, if that's all right.
Yes, sir. Hey, you got the platform, my boy. We trying to expose some things, let people know what's going on. So
Come on, man.
the floor is
Come on.
yours.
Let me tell you something. When I started to research male arousal and how it affects the body, I really didn't find a lot of information. You know what I'm saying? This was about 3 or 4 years ago. And so there's definitely more information out there now. But, I was still very much disappointed when I start to look up information about how a person is supposed to understand themselves sexually, and then how they're supposed to act on those feelings. And I was lucky enough to find a documentary. Now, how I found this documentary, y'all ain't gonna believe it. It was a documentary created by HBO, uh, titled Male in 1999. Now, I found the documentary after scouring the internet for documentaries dealing with male sexual arousal and how it affects the mental and physical. I found one, and this is the only one I found. But it's titled Male. It's a great documentary, and I found that mug on the porn site. Man, let me tell you, I looked everywhere, and I was like, you know what? Let me check the porn site because I can't find any information anywhere else. So let me check these porn sites. And that's where I found this documentary. And it's surprising, but true. There are a few documentaries on a lot of these porn sites that, I would recommend people check out. One is Male specifically, because I'm speaking from a cis black man's perspective. This is the best I can give you. So if you would like any additional information, I would suggest, starting out with this documentary because it's incredible.
Yeah.
And after watching that documentary, I saw something that shocked me. And they were talking to a trans man, someone who transitioned from female to male, right?
Mm-hmm.
And their discussion on testosterone blew my mind.
Oh wow, yeah, that's deep. That's deep. Already thinking about it. That's deep.
Because they talked about how unbearable the rise in that sexual desire. So it's crazy because for a large part of my life, I would say that, oh, men and women are basically the same when it comes to sexual arousal. This is what I was thinking to myself before I, decided to educate myself. And this is why my friend was so necessary, because she informed me that no, it's not like that. I was like, for me, it's constant. I was like, it's a constant thing.
Right.
Whether I'm reading a book, grading papers, playing a video game, watching a movie, I was like, it can come up at any time. You know what I mean? And that's as clean as I can put it.
Right.
And so a lot of men just learn to deal with it, and they figure out ways in which to either hide erections. And I'm telling you, the men have become very good at this skill.
Cold showers. You gotta hit that cold
Man,
shower a few times.
true. Even if you don't have the opportunity to make it to the cold shower, the way the men are able to hide erections, whether it be putting something over it, it's stuff you learn in school.
Mm-hmm.
As you come out, be like, okay, so this thing's just gonna do whatever the hell it wants to do. So I need to figure out a way to control it as best I can.
Right.
But I'm sorry for the detour. But going back to the documentary, what this trans man spoke of was that it felt like torture.
Mm.
Torture. He would say that that he would be aroused 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times a day. And I'm like, yeah, it seems about right.
Right.
But the interesting part is, he spoke on the lack of conversations we have between males and females when it comes to, sexual activity, and just telling men, figure it out. Saying you to blame for that, figure it out. It's all you.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on to explain how impossible that is because the urge is so strong. And so, after that, I jumped right into it. You know what I'm saying? I started looking for a trans man to have this conversation with. I started looking up videos on testosterone and, trans males and how they deal with it. And I was shocked. Whenever they're going through the process, they start using testosterone. A lot of them say that their doctors let them know, hey, your partner is not going to be able to keep up with you. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you thought, your sexual arousal was at one point, that's going to change. And I'm going to suggest to you that you have a toy to be able to help yourself when your partner is unable to, fulfill whatever need, that comes up sexually. And I was like, dang, y'all actually get those talks? I did not get that talk.
I want to jump in for like 2 seconds, right?
Go ahead.
So I remember we were talking about this about a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago, right? And I had mentioned couples therapy, right? I was watching the episode of couples therapy with the missus, and there was a couple who there I don't know how to phrase it because it was a woman who was a cisgender, and if you audience, if you don't know, cisgender means that you agree with the sexual orientation that you were assigned with at birth. So you subscribe or you acknowledge that that's who you are in a sense. But the partner was a man who transitioned to a woman, so a trans woman, right? So like a Bruce to Caitlyn Jenner in a sense, right?
Yeah.
And with that, the woman, the cisgender woman in the relationship felt like the her partner didn't find like wasn't attracted to her because the sex drive was not there. But as you know, when you are a man transition to a woman, you get more estrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So now this trans woman is fighting with the urge, well, the lack of the urge to want to have sex because that estrogen is killing, not killing, but the testosterone level is flipping. So it's going from one end to the other. So now you're in a state of, I'm just not in the mood anymore. And then your body's conflicted because it's so used to being on 10, wanting to hump like a rabbit every 10 seconds.
On 10.
Now it's flipped. So it's interesting that you say that because of course we don't have these conversations, and the first thing that comes out is we want things to be equal or we want people to be knowledgeable on things, but we're not even giving people the foundation for what's really going on and then expanding on that. So I that's interesting because come on, I
bro.
got you, brother.
Bro,
That's spinning my brain.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I know that. Let's see, Dr. Elders. It was the Jocelyn Elders. Spoke about the importance of masturbation when it comes to male, well, everybody, but when it comes to male specifically, because it's so valuable to most male sort of like existence. I'll give you some examples. In a lot of cases, let's say a young male is unable to function as far as try to stay focused, and in some cases it could affect your physical ability, and so her recommendation of masturbation really allowed people to take care of that thing early in the morning, take care of it late at night so they can function in real life. And then that jumps right into the importance. Because what people don't realize, and you see this now, with podcasts, you hear people talk about this more often now, how important sex is to everyone, really.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking as myself, how important it is to males, you know what I'm saying, and what it actually does.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into these arousal triggers here. It's important for every person. I'm gonna put that out there. Every person. It's important for you to work on all levels of yourself. Look inward. We're trying to increase our emotional intelligence, but I'm telling you right now, also work. What I'm saying, on your sexual intelligence. Know what your arousal triggers are. Know how it affects your mental. You know what I'm saying, and your physical. Know this. All right. Like I said, I started in my late 20s and early 30s. Embarrassing. You know what I'm saying? But I found out a lot about myself. You know what I'm saying? First off, the thing that kicked it off, because I kept telling myself, man, I'm not like any of these men out here that just be whistling at females, woo, all that other stuff. I was like, I'm not like that. That's crazy. Like, what are you talking about? That's not me. I was not paying attention.
Yeah.
Even though I've never done that, I've definitely sexualized a woman at first glance. You know what I mean? I just never picked up on how that affected my body until I started to look inward. And bruh, the thing that stuck out to me from my experiences is an image of Gabrielle Union.
Mm.
This was like 2019 or something like that. Now I follow Gabrielle Union, you know what I'm saying? Not because that I think she thoughty or anything. I don't follow thoughts for personal reasons. I think they ruin lives. But I was following Gabrielle Union because I was like, yo, this is what I want. I want that. I want that family unit.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I want that joy. And so I was like, that's what I follow her for. She posted a picture, bruh. She posted a picture of herself like coming out of a pool. And I was like, oh, I've seen her in bathing suits all the time. I've never felt any type of way. I was like, oh, that's just Gabrielle Union. You know what I'm saying? Of course, she's gorgeous. She's just wearing a bathing suit, blah, blah, blah. But this one, I caught myself going, oh, God damn. I was like, yum, all kinds of crazy shit. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, oh, my bad. Sorry for swearing on your platform. But I was like, what are you doing? I was like, what are you doing? I caught myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And then I was trying to figure out, okay, so, what are your arousal triggers when it comes to this? And at first I was like, I might be alone in whatever, in this feeling, you know what I'm saying? But then, one of Dwayne Wade's teammates commented on the picture. And he said, well, damn. You know what I'm saying? And I'm giggling about it now, but this is could be seen as a very serious that happened, offline, and it was like in person, depending on how you interact with females and so on and so forth. But there's definitely was a bit of controversy because it was like, what are you saying that under my wife's post like that? And the person was like, oh, I didn't mean any disrespect. And but I'm telling you, when it comes to arousal triggers, that hit it for me. And when I was looking, I was like, okay, it's not that she was in the bathing suit. It was that like her nipples were exposed, and the way that translated to me something sexual. Mm-hmm. And then so I started to pay attention to what happens to my body whenever these arousal triggers are hit. And so I noticed that it seems like there's an increase in oxygen in my lungs. I was like, what the hell? Just almost immediate. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? There's an increase in my strength. You know what I'm saying? Bruh. I mean, check this out.
Do your heart start beating fast?
Bruh. Definitely. But the increase in strength, the increase in air in the lungs, and then the inability to feel pain. Bruh, I'm not lying to you. When I say people have to, do this work on yourself so you understand what's going on. Inability to feel pain. And when I asked my friend, and I was like, hey, so how do you let me know what happens? And she mentions the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it comes to inability to feel most pain. You know what I'm saying? That's why you hear a lot of people talk about introducing smacking, and some these sort of things in that sex play because the sensations feel different.
BDSM.
You know what I mean? It feels different, and it could heighten, or let's say, your sexual desire depending on, or your arousal depending on who you are. But it's important to know what these are, and it's important to know how it affects your body. Because I'm telling you, if you're a young person, based off the things that I said, and you're put in a situation where there's just all these arousal triggers next to you, and then you have alcohol, and then you have drugs, and then you're really acting off impulse. And a lot of the times that was me. I was acting off impulse in a lot of the situations. Now, I was very lucky not to be involved in anything crazy. Mm-hmm. But when I look back, I was 100% acting on impulse in a lot of the sexual encounters that I had as a youth. Wild, bro. Wild. And that brings us into the conversation of, sexual rituals. You feel? Mm-hmm. Let's get into it.
I'm a little familiar because I had an episode we talked about grounding yourself, chakras, kundalini. That's the true essence of understanding yourself and the guiding you in a sense. But again, the ritual piece is important. And after you expound on this, I definitely want to, get my 2 cents in as well.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
But something I've noticed, something I've realized is that when it comes to sexual activity, at least for me, this is coming from my personal perspective. I know people have their own perspective, and please put them in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Be respectful. But for me, when I think about the sexual encounters that I've had, there's always been an offering of some kind. From the position she would put herself in, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh my, when I think about it, like, wow, these are whole offerings. You know what I'm saying? And we mistreat it. We go, okay, so this is just something I need. Wada, la, 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 la. You know what I'm saying? I just need what I need so I can move. But and that is us, not paying attention and not giving the respect to the sexual act that it deserves. And some cultures, sex a lot of times lead to death in the worshiping of, gods. One I saw, one ritual was just, it was crazy. this is, I consider it to be crazy, but I'm not a part of that culture, so it is what it is. But they participate in, the sex act. Is a virgin boy, girl, and then they end up killing both of the male and the female, as they're engaging in the sex act as a way to appease one of their gods, or a god. And I was like, okay, now I don't think we should take it to that level. But we should address that this is a very serious act. And then what we're doing is more than just physical. And so knowing that, I've started asking myself questions going into, certain sex acts. And I was like, I feel like I'm sort of in a trance.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I sort of transition into a sort of trance state. This is what I'm talking about when I say it seems like it's my body's moving on its own. It's like automated. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? The rhythm, and I'm conscious in the fact that I know society says I need to make sure that she has an orgasm, that she's pleasured, et cetera, et cetera. And so, those factors do play in and play out. And I know that I'm listening for a stop because I have been conditioned to listen for a stop if, the sex act is going not as planned and someone isn't interested. But I can't imagine if a person is not taught to listen to that stop, or try to pay attention to their partner's body movements. I can only imagine how horrible that could be, when it comes to sexual activity, and how that completely could, destroy or dismantle the idea of the ritual, um, creating something heinous. You know what I mean? And that gets into conversations, and I know I can't say it on this platform, but the R word and sexual assault, et cetera, it jumps right into those territories. This is why it's very important to understand yourself, have these conversations with your partner, understand the ritual sexual activity, understand the power play, and in ways in which you have to and need to pay attention. And this is both male, females, etc. You have to make sure you're paying attention to your partner as best you can. Understand that you're in the trance-like state. Understand how that feels, because it's very serious. One of the issues that was brought up in this discussion I was having with my friend is her ability, or her attempt to try to educate young people at a university level. She went in there with the intent of helping these children, you know what I mean? And I call them children because I'm old and that's just what it is. So I don't mean to offend anybody. So she went in there, and I was there too, and we got to hear them talk about how they engage in sexual activity, and it will blow your mind. And I know there's a lot of like adults, 30 up, that participate in these same activities that people ignore, but absolutely crazy. So I'm hearing a lot of things in that meeting where young women are talking about, this hot and cold game. Like, it's fun to see him, arouse, you know what I mean? And then I'd be like, nah, this is a fun game that someone taught them to play. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a very dangerous game. It's a very dangerous game because, one, you don't know who this person is. You don't know if they're in, touch with themselves mentally and physically when it comes to arousal triggers. And I would say it like this, and this is the best way I can sort of, you will never beat biology.
Facts.
No, you're not about to win that one.
That's facts. That's facts. Even though we try to.
Come on now.
Even though we try to.
People, come on. And they do a lot of things, in order to sort of alter it. But it is that feeling is so strong. You know what I'm saying? And it's important. It's important for everyone to understand, what's going on. Like, that's a horrible game. Do not play that game. And I tell my female students, and I'm not blaming females, so let's stop that right now. You know what I'm saying? For anything, because people will be like, "You blaming?" And I'm not blaming them, but I definitely let my female students know, hey, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? I say, don't invite a person to your house unless you're at least considering, you know what I'm saying? You're having conversations, or at least with yourself about, engaging in some sexual activity, because the what it does to a male is just different. And let's not pretend like females not out here doing the most as well, because they definitely are. You know
No,
what I'm
definitely.
saying? Come on, man.
No,
Come on.
definitely. And,
If
and
you
I,
ever
I'll
go
go. I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to touch more on that specific that ritual
Yeah.
aspect of teasing and
Oh,
taunting,
please go ahead.
because
Yeah.
it is real. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give us a second, because man, we don't got real deep into this. I need to, to get a little water break or something. I know you need to get you a little water, so
Go
we're gonna
ahead.
take a we gonna take a little commercial break, and we'll be back with some more of this sexual awareness and this serious topic, my people. So just bear with us, and we'll be back in a second. Appreciate y'all. All right, y'all. We had to take a quick, break for a second, because my boy was talking his ish, and it was getting intense, man. And I know sometimes when we get into it, we get into it. But I just want to give y'all a chance to let your minds reset, recalibrate, so you get some more information. If you haven't taken notes, take your notes. It might be something you might want to look into for yourself. But real quick, bro, you talked about some profound things before we took the commercial break. But one thing I want to kind of expand on, especially when we talk about rituals, when we talk about people playing the game, in a sense, women playing the game. And then again, we're not bashing women, we're not misogynists, because that's the first thing people say. Oh, you're a misogynist, you're a womanizer. No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're talking from an educational stance, especially and in a sense subjective but objective at the same time. So we're not here giving any kind of advice or anything. We're just having a casual conversation. But
Casual comment.
casual conversation. But what I wanted to talk about is, I don't know, for people who watch P Valley, in the P, you can understand if you look. Hey, do your own research. But P Valley, I watch it, even though I don't really watch sitcoms like that, because I'd be like, y'all be portraying the black community all weird and wild and doing all this extra stuff. Especially loving hip hop, I never will support them, because I just ridiculous. Key one, the epitome of ridiculousness. So, but when we talk about, the tease and taunt, the ritual of, oh, this is a game, let me see how far I can push the envelope, I think about strippers, right? So when we talk about taking advantage of men, especially when we talk about the arousal and what arouses us,
That's big.
going to a strip club is the epitome of that. You
Mm-hmm.
go get this fantasy. We're talking fantasy, right? And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
these men who go to strip clubs are normally married men. And what happens with these married men? At home, they're not getting what they need from their wives, 9 times out of
Absolutely
10,
not.
from an affection or a sexual level. So they need something else to, you know, take care of that arousal, or give them something to think about, so they can go home and
Mm-hmm.
masturbate, in a sense, because they're not getting what they need. But even with that, it's interesting, because they say, oh, in my younger days, in my 20s, I was a strip club hopper, right? And one of the key rules at most strip clubs is, one, you can't touch the dancers. They can do everything to you. They can kick you in the face, do a somersault, whatever. They can do anything they want
Yep.
to do to you, but you can't do anything to them. But my thing is, what kind of example is that showing? Is that an expansion on the game that they play of, all right, I want to arouse this man to the point of no return, but you can't do anything
Mm-hmm.
back to me. You can't do anything back to me, but I'm gonna push you to your limit, because that's the name of the game. The game is get them up there, leave them up there. It's up and it's stuck, right?
Well, come on now. Come
Up
on
and it's
now.
stuck. So I'm curious about how that, like, is that something that is researched in that field of, being a strip club owner, like understanding that we get them to that point of the boiling point of arousal, so that we can get the ultimate, because for them the goal is to, all right, you don't got me to this point, I want to cash in now. but you can't cash in. So they play off of that to get that arousal point to the boiling breaking point. Now they have to find a way to release. But
Yes.
it's also an addiction because now you're doing something and building on it, but you won't get a return in a sense. And that could be fatal.
Come on.
Fatality. So, man, it's just crazy because we talk about society and privilege and things of that nature, and men, we in many cases we don't get that saving grace. We don't get that that olive branch in a sense, or that
No.
treaty of you matter, your feelings matter, and we're not going to do things to
Oh no.
try to trigger you. But you still got to be strong. You have to be masculine. You have to give
Oh
off
yeah.
these traits that make you a man. But we're gonna keep throwing these
Facts.
punches at you just to see if you're able to keep your will. And I was watching something earlier that talks about how men have the highest rate of suicide. So it's all circumvented, right? All circumvented.
Oh,
All circumvented.
yes. Yes,
But
brother.
go ahead,
Okay.
bro. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry, Ron. You go ahead.
No, I was done. I was just gonna say, like, for the sake of the topic, we were talking about sexual
Mhm.
awareness, but I want to say,
Yes.
like, I wanted to point that out to the viewers or the listeners that this is all intertwined. It's a social construct, but
Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. A lot of exotic dancers or sex workers usually refer to themselves as therapists. You know what I'm saying? You hear this in many conversations because they understand that they understand how a man works psychologically. You know what I mean? They understand that whether or not he feel appreciated, whether or not he feel desired, is tied to sex. They understand it. Now I don't know why. All right. You know what I mean? Because to me, it's like, okay, there are people that are utilizing this, they understand this, et cetera, et cetera. And in a lot of cases, in a lot of situations, like when I went to the strip club for the first time, I'm putting my business all the way out in the street. I was like, oh, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? This is
right.
a fantastic place. And then I was acting like, why would I pay money for this tease? Like, this is what I would tell myself because it just didn't make any sense. But I was a virgin at the time, so it was like Disneyland. All right, let me get off of it. But but I found out, you know what I mean, that people they are exchanging sexual acts in a lot of these strip clubs. You know what I mean? So it's like get them to the point where they're aroused, and there's some people that just want to be aroused, and the arousal is like used as they're trying to feel appreciated. You know what I mean? So the sexual arousal is like, at least for this short time, this song, I feel appreciated. You know what I mean? And I don't know why it's linked, why sexuality or, sex for a man is linked to, his sense of self, whether or not he feels appreciated, respected, or desired. But that's just what it is. But when I found out that they like, oh, here's $50 going in the bag, I was like, oh, makes a lot of sense when people will go to a strip club. Yeah, because you get all of those things and you get the release.
That's
you know
the
what I'm
goal.
saying? Come on. And
That's
this is extremely important. And I don't know how much time, but I'm gonna jump into this real quick. You let me know if I have to end it.
Oh, we got time, bro.
All right. But with my ex, you know what I'm saying, who I love and appreciate, like I don't have any negative things to say about her on this recording. But one of the best things is, we had an opportunity to talk about sex and what it meant to both of us. And when I explained to her that the arousal is constant, it was like, you're bullshit, like you're lying. and so we decided to do this sort of experiment over the weekend. And she was like, anytime you get excited, we can have sex. Like anytime. I was like, anytime? Anytime. Long story short, the fifth or sixth time, you know what I'm saying? And, she's going to take a shower. It's late at night. We're calling it a day. She comes out the shower. I'm like, oh, again. And she was like, again? You know what I'm saying? And I was like, you said it whenever. And she was like, all right, I believe you. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy that it has to go to that point. You know what I'm saying? But hopefully, in some situations, it should. It doesn't have to get there. A person just believes you. But that was the most sexually free relationship I've ever been in, and so we started having discussions like, if you see an erection, that does not mean that you have to do anything about it. I said it's gonna go up, it's gonna go down. Don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? If you want to, hey, I won't stop you. But I don't want you to feel pressured like you have to do something about it. But I also don't want to hide my erections, bringing it back to what we, how we started the discussion today. And it was fantastic. And I'm not ever going back to hiding my erection. So in the relationships that I get into moving forward, we have to have that talk to say, hey, it's just going to happen. Now, they say it's supposed to, your libido or your, supposed to, wane. It hasn't. So I don't know what's up with that. A lot of the men, especially in the documentary, mentioned that once he started to lose, a little bit of his libido, he was able to do things. And I'm telling you, the way that people describe it, it's more of a need than a lot of people, and mostly I'm talking to females here, will make it seem like it doesn't matter. It absolutely matters. You know what I'm saying? It's big. So not only is it connected to how the man feels about you, respecting him and desiring him, you know what I mean? That is one of the ways that we connect emotionally. And so people gonna take this how they gonna take it. I apologize. But the more orgasms the man has with the female, the more attached he becomes to her. And so that bond starts to get created. And it's like, this is one way that a man becomes attached to a female or, anyone, and start that sort of pair bonding that a lot of people are starting to speak of today. Sorry, but go ahead.
I'm real quick. So it's funny you say that because I was just telling my wife yesterday about the same thing. So I was like, hey, because for me, and I'm being a little transparent. This is the only one that I've been with consistently over a year on that level. And even before, when you're younger, I was with my son's mom for on and off for a long time. And you've met her.
Yeah.
But
We did.
even with her, there was things in between, and she knows it was things in between. So the fact that once I stepped out or did what I did, of course we weren't together. We were on and off like we were. I was able. I gave the energy to someone else, so my soul reconnected with a new person. And then once I went back to her, I reconnected to her. But now that what with the missus, with me and her, the fact that it's been consistent for a good amount of time now, even if I get that arousal, I'm like, I got something at home that I appreciate. So my
Right.
mind is set, and I was like, how does a person stay married for 30 years and only have sex with one person for 30 years? If it's decent, it's consistent, you're good because you're subconsciously you're connected to that person. You become what's the term, tethered. You become tethered to that person,
Yes.
and it's hard,
Bound.
right, bounded. So that string that tethers you, it gets wider and wider and wider and thicker and thicker. So it's hard to disattach that. And that's why,
Yes.
when you get divorced after being with somebody 20, 30 years, y'all still hanging out and doing stuff together because that's what you're used to.
Come on now. And just to put the pin in it here when it comes to pair bonding, um, they say this is mainly for female. No, this is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
If you're out there and you're having sex with multiple partners, and y'all spoke on it about having control over chakras, your lower chakras. When you're out there creating soul ties, I probably shouldn't have done that. That's disrespectful. When you're out there creating these soul ties with people, you are not making it impossible, but you're creating a habit. And so once the habit is formed, then you feel like you have to go out and keep finding someone to sort of, to fulfill your sexual desires, to fulfill your arousal, your erection, et cetera, et cetera. And this is both males, females, what have you. And so that's why I say it's important, because you can do that. You can hump your way out of something meaningful,
Mm-hmm.
you know, by continuing to continue continue to form this habit that is not really positive. Now, some people say, "Oh, you know, you do what you want," which is fine. But I promise you that you're going to have an issue sort of bonding with one person if you have 5, 6, 7, 12, 13 different sexual partners in a month, let's say, because it's just not, and we're creatures of habit, so it's not going to be something you're used to. And so it's going to be tough to try to stay in a monogamous relationship. And
Right.
so just to put this out there, if you're interested in a monogamous relationship, you know what I'm saying, just pick your sexual, hell no, you know what? Whether or not you're interested in a monogamous relationship, pick your sexual partners carefully. Okay. Very carefully, you know, because not only do I feel like it's taken away every time you have sex, it take away a little bit of your life. I think
Mm-hmm.
you are also sharing pieces of your soul with that person too. And like you mentioned, energy.
Mm-hmm.
And so you should be careful with that. But also inform your partner, let them know how you feel if you can, because some people can't do this with the people they're in a relationship with.
Right.
But let them know how it feels when they're rejected, or when you're rejected, you know, how important sex is to your life. While letting them know they don't have to do anything, just let them know that this is a very important part of my life that I don't want to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
um, because it is that serious. And for people to feel, you know, to feel like they live a very fulfilled life. Okay, so I'm gonna stop chit chatting right there. You know what I mean? That seemed like a good place to, you know, to end it. And and thank you, man. I appreciate you having me on to have this incredible conversation.
Yes, sir. Well, no, I appreciate you, man. Like I said, we've been rocking and rolling for a long time, and we always have really good intellectual, deep conversations about a lot of stuff. Pause.
Yeah.
Right, but I think this it's candid and it's important. So we need to look at these things because it's real out here. Inflation's up,
Very much so.
money is down, and people are having babies on babies on babies and can't take care of them, especially in our community. So we got to be
Come on
more
now.
diligent in what we do. So again, I appreciate you talking about this topic specifically because we always sweep it under the rug and we don't talk about it. And your first exposure to something is when you watch one of these
Come on.
movies with your parents, and then now you exposed, and now you walking around doing all this other stuff, and now you having sex at 10, 11. Now you
Come on
pregnant
now.
and having, it's a cycle of things, and we need to cut
Right.
that out.
I'm
But
about to put that in there. I'm about to say it's either what you watch, you know, a family member, you know, the deacon, the pastor of the church, somebody touching you incorrectly for your first sexual experience. Um, Man, look, if you feel comfortable enough at your church, you talk to them.
right. I
You
was watching something about that the other day too, man. We got to stop nicknaming things. We need to say what it is. Your private
exactly,
part is your private part, and let me know if someone
exactly,
touched your private part, the specific thing.
exactly.
But with that being said, bro, I appreciate you coming on, and uh, we got to do a part two to this at some point because there's so much information out
Okay,
there. So,
okay.
uh,
I got some stuff for part two.
all
Black
right,
community and you know, grown people having sex with children. You know, this is both males and females,
all
and
right.
black community be like this, pretending
Exactly.
like they don't see
Oh,
it.
we gonna get it. But for my followers, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. And again, like I said, I'm not neglecting y'all. I'm just going through the growing responsibilities. So y'all, you stay tuned in. If you haven't already, you can support the channel. You can support the podcast at anchor.fm / stop playing. Send your boy some money. It's real out here. Help your boy out because your boy got some kids out here. He's trying to feed his family.
It is
but
real.
but I will be back with another serious topic, and I want to thank y'all for tuning in, and thank you again, NBB Artist, for being a stand-up guy and having that good information. So without further
Sure.
ado, y'all be safe, y'all be good, and I'll be back with another serious topic.